game on BOE, like they just haven't had the overall control on a battleground once throughout 3 games so far.
I have a weird feeling that I feel like KSV is going to dominate this one harder than all the other ones, but just with the amount of control that they can kind of provide, even though it is a game that kind of stalls out and slows out. I feel like with some of the calculation we saw from them on the Sky Temple, again, minus that kind of weird limbo with the night camps that we see from them, I feel like they really showed that they have, I don't want to say return to old form, but are showing signs of it. And I expect them to kind of execute once again here on Towers of Doom.
Maiev let through, guys.
Yep, and it's not first picks.
Yeah.
Genji, as always. No way you don't let it through.
I mean, not only have you given Maiev, you know, left it open, but you've given it to KSV Black. You've given it to Rich, who's self-proclaimed best Maiev in the world. He's played it so much on stream. He's played it in Hero League. He might have the highest win rate of Maiev in you know, just Hero League games in Korea of any player. He's already shown it once. He's been fantastic on the hero, and is also, you know, I know it was kind of the community outcries. We need Maiev to shut down these high mobility heroes like Genji, but in fact he does. If he can hit Genji, you know, shut down the mobility quite hard. And now you've left it open. You've picked the Genji. You've got to grab Uther here if you're Tempest, but I feel like we've seen this before. This Genji priority into Uther. We saw it on BOE. This time Anubarak's ban. They don't even have that.
Well,
this seems like a rough road to be walking down for Tempest.
The rough road, I think, starts with Sign, right? And his hero pool was 4 heroes coming into this: Anubarak, ETC, Murd, and Tyrael. Tyrael's been banned out. They have not picked one up. And traditionally, I said this yesterday, and what we saw in the Western Clash was Johanna was kind of that natural counter, using Iron Skin to casually walk away from those tethers coming in from Maiev. Sign, historically, when we looked at him hero pool-wise, was always up and down. It seems like he's kind of been in his, I guess, his best form since his old MVP Black days. And I really wonder, is he willing to commit to a safe Johanna style?
There was moments where he was willing to play it even in kind of that old form, but by no means would I look at that and go, one of Sign's best heroes, especially in the like warrior frontline role. It just doesn't feel like he can do as much as compared to Tiss, for instance. I feel like Tiss has displayed consistently how well they can just use the Condemn to make sure they gain a lot of value. So I agree with you on a lot of what you just said. It just feels it's going to be difficult here, because also in the interview when we talked to Sign, and he actually kind of accented, he felt like the meta complemented his hero pool, right? Which I think only kind of shows that this is something contributing to the success here of Tempest. But more than anything, honestly, I feel like it's just KSV a bit waking up. Again, Tempest has been too dependent, in my opinion, on their comfort picks, and I've been amazed at how successful they've been with it. And right now, it's the first time that anybody has made them look mortal. And again, I mean, KSV Black was also the team to make, you know, Roll20 look mortal when they had that overly synergistic composition. They just need maybe enough time to be able to figure out how to break it down.
If I'm KSV, I'm taking the Anubarak here, taking it away. Anubarak would be kind of that secondary counter because he's got the Unstoppable on his burrow charge. You take that away from that, and you use that as a counter towards the potential Uther, and you get some follow-up CC.
Well, in this case, Anubarak is banned, of course, but it would totally fit the...
I knew that. I was totally testing you.
Yeah. It would totally fit the comp, though. It would make a lot of sense. Instead, they're going to go with, obviously, the Garrosh here. There's a lot of ways you can wreck somebody in the early game with what KSV Black has done. Look at the Concussive Mine, the Silence, the Toss. If anyone steps over the line of the range of any of these abilities, they're going to get destroyed. Maiev is going to have a pull. This early game is going to be so powerful for KSV Black. So now I think Tempest needs to look towards something that scales better into the late game. Maybe the Greymane is a safe pick here. You can at least control camps. You can avoid the format. You can avoid, you know, pick potential that KSV Black has here. But if you go into something safer, like the Tychus, for example, I think you're going to have a bad time. You need something that has at least some semblance of camp control to control the Sappers, or else KSV Black is going to have a strong early game. That early game is going to give them control of the Sappers, and I don't think this is it. Thrall, I don't think this is it.
Their range damage is severely lacking here.
What?
Just
full dive? I mean, lacking or non-existent?
I was going to say, well, technically Genji's a ranged character.
Thrall is a ranged assassin with Crash Lightning.
I mean, he feels that way, that's for sure.
I mean, that is kind of a late game pick, and you know, to some instances, Thrall's damage is going to really scale up later on. He gets to level 16 as well. He's going to be a force to be reckoned with. But will it be too late by that time? Thrall's camp clear is not the worst in the world, but it's not as good as other choices could have been.
Oh my.
There comes out the Zeratul.
So Kyocha moves over to Maev in this instance?
We've never seen it before. It's one thing I can't tell you a definite answer towards. It could make sense because Rich is obviously a fantastic Junkrat player. So,
well, Zeratul as well. I mean,
I think Kyocha can play the Zeratul. He's played really well in the Zeratul in the past. Maybe that means Reset is on Maev. It gets a little bit weird because Reset's also used to be a main melee assassin. I know it feels weird to say that because that was like 2 years ago.
Yeah.
Rich is playing main range DPS at the moment. He's the only player who's really played a lot of Junkrat this season. Kyocha has played a fantastic Zeratul in the past, albeit not as good as Rich's historic Zeratul. KSV Black is really drafting against the norm for not only their team, but for the Korean meta here. But I think what they're trying to do is kind of go all in on this very aggressive early game pick-based CC comp and crush the early 4-man rotations, then take camps and take control of the game as a result.
I agree with you, and I feel like it's intimidating if you are a Tempest fan because there was a lot of things led through that draft that, according to Western meta and even what we've seen with the Eastern meta, at least in the sense of Maev, that is a no-go, not something you let up. We were questioning who would be on what for KSV Black, and it is going to be Zeratul played by Kyocha. So Rich, in fact, is going to stay on that Maev, the self-proclaimed best Maev.
That's kind of hard to live up to that claim if you don't play said hero.
Well, I mean, when you're not the so much self-proclaimed, but kind of just proclaimed one of the best heroes in the or players in the world, I don't think it's totally unfair to be the self-proclaimed best on a new main. You know, I think we can give him enough credit.
I think definitely so, as we'll see how this unfolds. You know, I'm looking at heroics. We've seen a little bit more Void Prison lately over Might of the Nerazim, and I really wonder if we might see a little bit of VP into Warden's Cage, maybe a little bit of Riptire, taunt action, lurking arm, silence in there. I mean, the amount of control that you can have in one big circle is kind of terrifying.
Good is in a tough spot there. Nice lurking arm use. The tether is going to end up breaking, but he goes upward, which means that it's going to be hard for him to make his way down. Instead, he uses the W on a passive. Signs flipped over with Junkrat knocking everybody out. Rich goes back in, gets the tether in, finds himself first blood. Blind goes out, Dami goes in, but the vault locking up gives Dami the reset after the deflect, and that is 1-for-1 trade. First blood for KSV, but Tempest does not let anything up here.
Yeah, that was a little bit of exciting fight here as we're just 1 minute into the game.
So Jay, we saw a lot of Thrall in Western Clash, right? And everybody was giving me a little bit of, you know, kind of harassment because I was just like, Sunder, man, Sunder feels good. It is the way to go. And we saw it once already here, and it was not successful, or actually it was successful on BOE. But in this composition specifically, into Maevs, Sunder is the best. I don't want to say the best. It is one of the best counter initiation spells in the game. Before, when it was relevant, it was meta. That was without the cast time, or with the cast time problems. It was still legendary at stopping initiation all-in clumping compositions, which is a little bit of what we see with KSV in their composition. But even since the changes, it gets far, far better with the lack of ability to get the interrupt is likely to get the Sunder off. And that's something that I want to know if that is the direction they go, or are they going to rely on the slow, long sustain. But Johanna in the front line to deal with the Warden's Cage, Condemn and Asunder is one of the hardest hitting, you know, like setups for Asunder in the entire game. And so I'd really like to see Tempest commit to that, and I feel like they might have an opportunity to deal with this all-in comp that KSV has.
If they can bring that in, are we still going to be looking at a Last Rites or Tormented Souls? Because it seems like both of them could get pretty decent value against this composition of KSV.
I think it's going to be a Last Rites, mainly because the single target bursts, you don't want to risk the AoE spread damage and not having the opportunity to get an execution. I do think it better preps the Malthael, but I do like the all-inning, especially into a Stukov support. There's a lot of vulnerable targets. You know what else is vulnerable? Uther there, as he is going to be silenced with a nice placed lurking arm from Sake, and an immediate altar spawn is going to allow that channel. Zeratul claims the top right, and so it's going to be 2 altars for 1 in favor of KSV.
2 altars in favor of 1, and it seems similar because that is also the number of kills that we have here, as KSV has a slight lead here in the early game, but no dominant map control so far, as we've seen so far through the first 3 games, Strat. It's been all about the team fight, the pick potential, and again, KSV controlling what seems to be the early part of the game again, as we're here on Towers of Doom.
There's still opportunities to really kind of change that when it comes to at least the rotations, but not so much at the compositional strength. Maltha is a hero that, I mean, he's not bad pre-temp, but he doesn't really do any kind of, you know, holy cow playmaking. He's just like, here's a passive, I'll keep healing, I'll keep getting my clear, doing my best to not let the macro get a problem. KSV ends up going towards their sapper. They started. They want to cut off this choke. Tist kind of feigns it here with the ground breaker.
Got to get them stacks while you still have an opportunity. Get that value as you go up. You can see Rich moving forward quite aggressively, just kind of daring anybody to step out, seeing if he can find somebody. Also get those cooldown resets, and you can see Dami getting tethered in. He's going to be pulled, but got some action turning up towards the top.
Dami falling very low. He's going to go in onto Rich. Rich uses the Vault, which makes him very susceptible to dive. Iron Skin use Condemn, pulls them in. Deflect not enough to get the reset. Rich actually gets pushed on the other side. He does go for the tether. Now lockdown on the back lines. Getting threat there to Tisk. Kyocha comes in, uses the cleave, gets the kill. Now he's going to trade on to lockdown. Dami goes in to try and get the punishment. It's so close, so far. And Hyde, the man with the Hammer of Justice, is the man getting the kill. Very well done. This is now Tempest winning an early game skirmish for what feels like the first time this series.
Trent, it just feels like every single team fight, it could go either way. I mean, health bars are dropping to just mere minuscule levels.
They don't know Dami's there.
They're about to find out.
You're probably right. Sake starts the channel. He's going to come out. Aw, he went for the Q rather than the auto attack. I thought I was going to get the call there. Cyber agility down. Maybe Rich kind of threatening out with that shadow. Zerto not showing too much in rotation now. Going to commit down to bottom as Lockdown and friends move up.
Reset on Junkrat there just has so much poke potential that I wonder what Tempest is going to do, whether they're going to look to engage. As you see, Good getting thrown back. The cleanse is going to be their sign coming in with the Condemn to try and start this, and you can see that star falling as Rich getting those resets on those fan of knives, Dread.
Yeah, he just hit, I think, 3 or 4 fan of knives onto 3 targets and just dominated Tempest. You see, I mean, Tis is like, yo, Rich, thanks for the prep here. We're just going to walk in and get the flip over because I can flip anybody and they're going to die. That was so much damage from Rich in a fraction of a second. I mean, don't get me wrong, Kyocha, he was doing work, reset, he was throwing out the grenades, but the AoE clumping damage in that skirmish was scary, and we've talked about what happens post-10 with the clumping of these type of compositions.
Well, you know, the other thing is they drafted a very melee-heavy team into a Maiev that benefits on hitting her fan of knives on 2 or more targets and getting that cooldown reduction.
The one thing that hurts my brain a little bit more than that is how low contested Maiev is for Tempest, but Tyrael is an instant ban consistently. But Blaze is not the immediate response either, right? Because the fear of that is Western world's response to Maiev is counter momentum, right? And there's very little taken other than the response of Johanna and Thrall at that point in time. Yeah, Uther is that hero that can do that, but it's not like you see Uther being picked up because of that, right? It's more the objective strength, and let's be real here, other than Uther and Malfurion, there's not too many go-to meta support heroes.
Well, you called it. We do have last rites as well as the big sundering. We'll see how that counters the potential VP, as it was Void Prison. Not going to be Might of the Nerazim here, but for now we have a double altar phase. The bottom bell tower, however, was captured by KSV, so they'll have a slight advantage if they do end up trading here.
The short way to kind of look at this, I feel like, for Tempest is if when Sunder hits, if something doesn't die within 2 seconds, the fight's over.
They know he's there.
Got him. Blessed Shield Condemn. Oh, but look at that. He doesn't end up going down, and that Warden's Cage is locking down 3. The Rip Tire is saying rip, knocking down 2 members of Tempest. Uther's trying to get out those heals, but Good ends up falling as well. Clever play there from Tempest, but if you don't end up getting the immediate blow up, or at least not out of range of Rich, it's going to get punished hard.
It's going to get punished hard. Lockdown putting some pressure. He could not get the dismount interrupt, allowing Dami to channel, and now he's going to suffer with his life. The stiff arm is sending Dami into the wall. You can see Rich and team keeping up the aggression, getting the kill, and that is basically, I think, every member from Tempest just went down, and now instead of 5 shots, they're going to look at a total of 10 with that bell tower control, and now all of a sudden a 32-31 game is 32-21 in favor of KSV.
Have to have mad respect for the decision making and thought process though for Tempest. They lost the bottom altar, bell tower, didn't feel like they could convert it within a reasonable amount of time. Go up for the threat, get the time and rotational advantage, find yourself a Zeratul, a free Zeratul standing out in the middle of nowhere. They used the cooldowns necessary to end up getting the kill, but it was just because Rich and the high impact and the lockdown of the Warden's Cage and how long they can keep you vulnerable in those areas. I mean, it single-handedly was Rich going like, thank you for picking this fight next to me because it's the only way I can save this for my team. I mean, it was impressive from Tempest, but it was just also that, you know, never lucky, and the fact that Rich is right over the wall.
Well, when you don't have much range damage, Dread, it's kind of hard to defend against sappers, and that is 3 sappers that just are casually walking through in the threat of Maev. Rich just sitting there waiting for anybody. It's like, you want a drink? Come here, little Cap, as I wait in the waters, and I'm just waiting to snatch you up the minute you come here, and that is what Rich is doing, waiting to snatch up anybody that moves in.
Here they
it looks
go.
like Tommy's ready.
He's got the Dragon Blade. The Warden's Cage is going to be used. Last Rites ends up getting the kill, but Tommy is just lighting up KSV here. 2 members already dropped. Not enough armor for Garrosh. He ends up going down. Zeratul not making the transition whatsoever. Void Prison is going to be available. For some reason, they kind of go for a high-risk 2 versus 5 over these double altars. But that was just Tempest doing that multi-synergy, Dami and Hyde together with the Genji and the Uther. No surprise that seems to be at almost the top of every single one of their drafts.
The Hunter became the hunted there, as Tempest now, they'll easily channel both of these altars here. Reset is going to poke just a little bit, but Lockdown's positioning on point there. Doesn't have to worry about being interrupted. That's 8 shots going over against KSV, and all of a sudden we're right back to having ourselves a pretty even game.
Tempest manages to do this over and over again, and if, you know, history repeats itself whatsoever, this is where KSV gains a pretty big lead over the next skirmish, then Tempest comes back in the Miracle team fight at the end of the game.
So you're saying you've seen this before?
I feel like I have. Not so much on this map or in this case, but it does seem to be the tone of Tempest in a majority of the games, especially when they have a successful team fight in the mid-game where they catch KSV off black. Every time that happens, the game very suddenly becomes very... like, it's almost like Tempest needs to prove to themselves they have a shot, and then suddenly they're like, nah, we got this. We have the opportunity to turn.
Oh, there's the Warden Cage, but there's the Sunder in return, and now the damage is coming down. Rich putting the pressure on as Thrall goes down on the backside. Dread, we've got the VP, but 2 members of Tempest already down.
Yeah, Divine Shield is going to be there and stalled out by the Void Prison. Good, doing his best to hold on is he got those Uther heals, but he is going to drop. Dami's going to drop. Johanna is the only one to survive. And that is KSV Black. Just, I mean, really, have we seen a team fight that isn't just one team at least 4 to 5 kills and 0 on the other side?
Dread, I do have a question for you. There's movies out there I love to watch.
Yeah,
man. The rewatchability is there.
Okay.
And we said that we've seen a lot of this before from these teams. Speaking of, we've seen this before. We've seen a lot of deaths so far, and there's going to be another one. A sign goes down. The rewatchability factor of this series and these games, I am more than okay with it. But just, it's like that movie you tune in, it's like a Saturday night, it's like, dude, there's nothing to watch. I've seen this movie before. I'm cool with watching it again. This is definitely the game, the series.
That was my Happy Gilmore. You know, that was my go-to when I was a little Dread. Boss picked up here. Boss picked up here for KSV, sending 4 more shots to the core. Now putting it down to 14. Uther trying to get the channel down below, but Junkrat's going to get that interrupt. Zeratul starts the top left. 4 shots due to that top right altar picked up. Genji gets that interrupt. So a man advantage on the top half for KSV. Opposite here for Tempest down on bottom.
Right here, they're getting those shots. They're just trying to tap them in. Right now, just tap them in.
Give it a little tappy. Nice throw, knock up, taunt,
oh
damage is there. Thrall is out before he can even get that Sunder. Now Rich gets the tether, Rip Tires used, but the Divine Shield, the last rights onto Tis, sets him pretty low, and they're going to commit to this fight.
They're committing to the fight, and Rich trying to find a way to end it as he's on that front side, putting the damage onto Good and pushing back the members of Tempest. Genji will not make it down here in time, but the Warden's Cage is out. It's going to keep Sign locked in for the moment. He is not going to be able to walk away from this, and they find themselves Good as well.
And the lurking arm is there immediately after tether. Dami comes back in with a swift strike there after capturing that top left altar. In case you're wondering, you know, where did my Genji go? A majority of that, it was because of the map objective towards the top half, but very successful skirmishes here for KSV. Convert over to that bell tower. That's now going to secure 5 more shots. The core falls down to 5. The sappers down below, we talked about how difficult that is to defend. That will only be 3. If they can double stack that, they might be able to find a win condition here, but without their own rezzing anytime soon, I believe, they cannot do so, at least not yet.
You know, sometimes we have seen some of these matches play out, especially looking back at the Western Clash. You have, and we actually saw it just yesterday, the Tyrael factor, the Uther factor of, hey, we can kind of just instantly keep somebody from being interrupted, channel this down. You've got Void Prison, which is kind of the opposite, but the same, is that if you find yourself in a position, you just lock the other team out, get a channel. We'll see if they have that opportunity as we are quickly approaching level 20 here for KSV, and they are now only 4 shots away, which at this point would be 1 altar channel to end this game.
I'm trying to figure out if there's anything that I can clearly see of a rotation or decision making to really kind of stop this for Tempest. And to be honest, with the lack of macro selection within these compositions, it is kind of like when you start losing the fights, if you can't win them, you really have no other opportunity remaining, right? It's kind of why some people would argue, what is the better way to draft, right? Macro is dependent in every single game no matter what, whereas winning the team fight is not always going to be the win condition. Don't really know where I fall on that side of the argument, but at this point, not really going to matter. Sappers making it to the wall of death. Sign, he moves up. Condemn 1. It's going to drop. Good, throws out the curtain. Tis moves up for the groundbreaker, gets the flip, taunt, cleanse, already going to be used. 3-man void. Where's the Sunder?
The Sunder isn't going to come in. You can see the positioning for lockdown. He gets it. He nails it, but there's the pull back in. The Warden's cage directly into the silence. 3, 4 members down. Will it be 5? And that it does not matter, Dreadnought, as they will just instantly flip him back in. This is all for show because KSV Black gets the 5-man team wipe, and they are going to get the series victory here over Tempest.
Very impressive play here from KSV. This game, you know, not letting go of that control like we saw in some of the others, giving us a nice show here on how far they can make it into the base of Tempest. Something I think Rich has really enjoyed doing since about a year and a half ago on Chen. Remember, he loves diving in the wall of death.
He did it yesterday, and he actually died doing it. You know, ruining his KDA. It's clearly what matters most in these games. But either way, all for show. But Dread, despite Tempest picking up a game, KSV comes out 3rd seed coming into this tournament. Role swaps in the final week of HGC, and they might not have been looked at as the favorites, and we are still very early into this tournament. But this is a major statement, right?
It very much is. It does feel like KSV is kind of just... It feels like they were like, you know what, we're double world champions here, 3-time international, got legitimately more titles than anybody else has ever been able to claim. We'll just take a mini, we can calm down. HGC Korea, 3rd tier, and then this like Eastern Clash time to go back international level play, coming guns blazing. They look good. I don't want to say the best they ever have because, I mean, that's a pretty bold statement, but they do look, I'd say, you know, near 85, 90%. Like they're very much at the impressive level. And to be honest with you, I'm pleasantly surprised to see Tempest getting punished. I've been as amazed that they have been able to be as successful as they have been within their own region. Granted, this is only KSV that has been able to make them even look mortal so far. But I will say it's a pleasant surprise, at least from my perspective. They're kind of reforming, at least my understanding of competitive Heroes of the Storm. Because Tempest, I'm not kidding, they're a huge outlier in some of the trends and success that they have.
It has been pretty remarkable what we've seen from them. Even Sign said, hey, you know, it feels good to be coming in at the top. But KSV has other things in mind. Speaking of things in mind, we've got Wolf over there to talk to our winners of KSV. Let's hear what they have to say.
Hello guys, my name is Wolf. Considered by many to be the best individual player in the world. He's of course on the team KSV Black. I've got a few questions for him. The first of which is, you've got a really huge hero pool right now. You've played the Tracer, the Junkrat, the Maiev, etc. How do you make the decisions as to who is playing what on the team when you have such a large hero pool?
우선 리치 선수 승리를 축하드리고요. 리치 선수 정말 많은 영웅들을 플레이를 하고 있는데 뭐 정크렛이라던가 마이에브 그리고 이제 트레이서 같은 영웅들을 많이 플레이하고 있는데 그런 리치 선수가 플레이하는 영웅들을 어떻게 결정을 하게 되나요?
보통 영웅 뱀픽이 끝나고 나서 한 조합에서 딜을 누가 많이 넣냐에 따라서 딜을 많이 넣을 수 있는 영웅을 제가 하는 편이에요.
So after doing the ban pick phase, we are going to make a decision who is going to be a huge dealer. So I'm going to prefer to play the best dealer in the game.
Okay, so kind of putting the priority on damage then in those cases. My next question is, you picked an unusual map, Volskaya. You didn't bring a traditional solo laner to the game, and you drafted Tastar, who almost sees no play in Korea right now. Can you talk a little bit more about the strategy on Volskaya?
첫 번째 볼스카야 맵에 대해서 질문을 드리고 싶은데요. 그 볼스카야 맵이 그 HGC에서 잘 나오진 않는데 그 KSV에서 선택을 했어요. 그리고 이제 KSV가 한 선택은 그 솔로 레인이 없는 테사다를 선택하게 되었는데 그것에 대해서 좀 더 자세히 말씀해 줄 수 있나요?
일단은 볼스카야를 선택하게 된 계기는 상대에게 겐지를 줬을 때 그나마 힘이 약한 맵이라서 골랐고요. 솔로 레인을 안 뽑은 거는 정크렛이 아니 폴스타트가 라인을 볼 수 있기 때문에 저희가 위에서 4명만 잘하면 이긴다는 생각으로 그렇게 뽑았어요.
There are two factors we picked the Bolskaya. First one is it can be a counter man for the Genji pick, and second one is the Bolskaya. He can be a solo lane, and so we can have a good team fight with 4 heroes, and Bolskaya he can control the lane.
Okay, that makes sense. My last question is, you've defeated the #1 seed from Korea, Tempest. It was a pretty dominant series for KSV Black. Do you now feel like you are the strongest Korean team in this tournament?
이제 그 템페스트라는 HGKR에서 가장 강력한 상대를 꺾게 되었는데요. 이제 다시 KSV 블랙이 한국에서 가장 강한 팀으로 돌아왔다고 생각을 하시나요?
아직은 시기상조인 것 같고 이 말 맞나? 어쨌든 그 일단은 우승을 해야 그런 얘기를 할 수 있기 때문에 그때 돼서 얘기하겠습니다.
I think it's too early to say we can best team in Korea, and I think we can reclaim it again when we won this tournament.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Rich from KSV Black. That is going to do it, guys, for our interview here. We're going to take a short commercial break before we go into the next series, so we'll see you in a little bit.